Going to do the second half of the lesson. These are exactly like the ones on the last lesson, except you'll notice they're a little bit different. One, this lead term, actually this one has a square on it. This lead term here has a 4. It's not just an a squared. You'll notice this one is a 7b squared. The ones we were doing before, it would just have a squared, b squared, x squared. There wasn't a coefficient in front of it. The other thing that's different about these is you'll notice that they're not equal to 0. So that's two things we have to deal with, and after we do that, it's exactly like the ones we did the other day. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two terms here, and using the additive inverse, I'm going to move them over to the other side. So that's going to give me 4a squared. This one's going to become plus 20a. Remember, I'm using the additive inverse, so I get the opposite of the number. This one's going to be negative 56. And now that I've moved these two over, that's just equal to 0. So that's the first thing I did. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to deal with this 4 here in front of my lead term. Now, this isn't necessarily always true, but it's true of all the ones on this worksheet. And there's another way to do this, which we're going to learn this week, but for now, what I would always try with quadratics is see if you can divide every single term by this number right here. So 4 does go into these numbers, so 4 goes into that 4 times, so that will leave me an a squared. If I divide this by 4, I'll get a 5a. And if I divide this by 4, I'll get negative 14. Okay? So with 2 steps, these look exactly like the ones we were doing the other day. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor, so I have my 14. So 1 and 14. 2 and 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, none of those go in, so that's all the factors. So these two numbers here, the 7 and the 2, will add to my middle term, which is the 5. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and set up my binomials. So I'm going to have a minus 2, and then I'm going to have a plus 7. And using the zero products property, I'm going to make 2 little equations. So I have a minus 2 is equal to 0, and I have a plus 7 is equal to 0. So on this one, a would be equal to 2, and on this one, a would be equal to 7. So that would mean my solution set, or this is a negative 7, would be 2 and negative 7. Okay? This one down here, now I'm going to do it a different way. You could do it exactly like I did the one up there, but the truth is it doesn't matter if I divide first or I move the numbers first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide first. So I'm going to see if 7 goes into these, and it does. 7 goes into that 1 time, so I have a b squared over here. I have a 7b, so that's just a b. And then 7 into that would go 30. And then I'm going to move the terms. So I'm going to have b squared. This b is going to come over here. Remember, it's the opposite because of the additive inverse. This 30 is going to come over here. Remember, it's the opposite because of the additive inverse. So there's my equation. So like I always do when I factor, I'm going to take the 30 and I'm going to do 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 4 doesn't work, 5 will work with 6, and then I'm at 6, so that's everything. So these two here will give me a negative 1 if I make this a negative 6 and this a positive 5. So I'm going to do b plus 5 and b minus 6. And then I have my 2 little equations. I have b plus 5 is equal to 0. And I have b minus 6 is equal to 0. So this one would be equal to negative 5. And this one would be equal to positive 6. And then I have my solution. So you can see that these, once you do the first steps here, from here down, it's exactly like before. You just have to make that equal to 0, and then you have to get rid of the coefficient on the lead term. Okay, that's it.